Hey guys, it's Jennifer from The Shooter's Mindset. We are live with episode number 370. That number blows my mind every time I say it, and it gets bigger and bigger each week. Anyway, 370 episodes, that's a lot. We've got our co-host with us, Greg Cannon. How's it going, Greg?
Pretty good. How about y'all?
Going well. And then our guests of the hour, we have two this week. We've got CJ Johnson and the Robert Brantley, King of 2 Mile. How's it going, guys?
Great. How about y'all?
Going well. So we always start the show off by letting those that are unfamiliar with either of you, letting you tell a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into shooting and how you got into your jobs and what you do in the industry. So we'll start with CJ.
Yeah, my name's CJ. I work for Bushnell and Elite Tactical as well. Worked there for about a little over 4 years, but grew up hunting and shooting. Really just passionate about the outdoors and spending time at the range. Yeah, so I work with a lot of our ambassadors and our events. So I'm sure I've seen many of you out at a match across the country. I get to shoot a few, but I typically try and RO matches and help out where I can, and support on the prize table, and get to work with guys like the guy on the screen below
me. It's been a pleasure.
Would that be the king?
Do what?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. My name's Robert Brantley, just a precision rifle enthusiast, I guess is the best way to describe it. I try to hit it from every which angle. I've been involved in it since I can remember. I can't remember a day where I wasn't fascinated with shooting long range and stuff. And that's ultimately led me to my occupation and to the sport and things like that. But grew up hunting, shooting. And as I got old enough to have a decent job where I could afford cooler toys, it got me into competition and just never slowed down, just snowballed from there.
And now you just show up and shoot, right?
That's it. Just no preparation and show up Saturday morning and let her rip.
And you work in the gun industry.
I do. I also work for Manners Composite Stocks. They're my primary employer, and been a big fan of their products for many years prior to working for them. And that's ultimately what led to that job. And I work in a marketing role for Manners and love it. So brings me to a lot of cool events and things like that, and meet other people like y'all, and you know, and just get to see things from another angle, and just icing on the cake.
That's awesome. So I just wanted to ask you, Robert, are you really tired this week?
Tired this week?
Yeah, or actually last week more so. Are you really tired? Were you tired last week?
I should have retired last week. But
I feel like you maybe shot a match recently that maybe your bullets were a little heavier than usual.
Oh, yes.
Thought maybe you were tired from lugging that around.
Well, the gun was a lot lighter than normal, so it kind of worked itself out. But no, I gave my hand at the first tactical match, ever, and I just didn't have bullets for my 6mm that I wanted to shoot, and I was waiting, and they came in the day before I needed to leave. So I had a trusty 308 with some factory ammo that was sitting in the closet for years, loaded that up and rolled out. The downside to that was I didn't check feeding before I left. So I had a slew of feeding problems day one. And I didn't think it was in the gun because I had 2 different magazines, and both of them gave me fits. So other people are trying to loan me mags. It's like, it's not the mag. It's not the mag. It's these 2 are both given the same problem. A guy in our squad loaned me a mag, fed like butter. So day 2 turned it up a lot, but there was no making up for the damage done on day 1. That was by far my worst match in many years. So, and it was not the 308's fault as far as the cartridge. The ammo shot phenomenal, but the feeding will hold you up.
And the loading was an issue.
And he still whooped up on me at that match. Man, Robert, we already got called out for being late to our stages on Saturday. What day was it that we were sitting at the truck? Sunday?
I think it was Sunday
Yeah,
because
it was
I was
Sunday.
licking my wounds. Yeah, and
We're just
I was
sitting
like,
there. We're like, yeah, they're not going to start shooting yet. Yeah. So you burnt down a whole truck once. Wow. And then all of a sudden we start hearing gunshots. We're like, maybe I should get my gun out of the truck.
and it's fairly dark still,
Yeah.
so we didn't
Minor
think they'd go
detail.
live. But that was an interesting match to say the least.
So you travel and shoot a lot more than I do. Like if I'm more than 8 hours from home, well, I've never shot more than 8 hours from home. How would you rate those wins that we had on Saturday?
For a 308, very interesting, but any cartridge definitely struggled in it. It was a tough match, I'd say, but with the 308, it was brutal. My factory ammo is running a little slow, and I noticed, I did the calculations from the way the wind was blowing for me. At 600 yards, a 1 mile an hour wind was 2/10. I was like, so in those kind of winds, there was no easy correction to be made. If it went just off left and I held just off right, it would go like half a mil off the right. Just any little change just sent me every which way, but just held in there and kept rolling with it. I thought as a first match, I thought about quitting, but I told myself, I'm not going to quit. I'm never going to quit. I'm going to try to use it to see how far I can make it on day 2 and just see what I can do. And wasn't enough, but put a dent back in it.
But it was no problem holding those wins with the scope you have, right?
The scope makes it a lot easier. I mean, I got all the wind holes out to 10 mils on both sides, and I needed them.
Do you know what the most you held was at the match?
2.8 mils.
That's about what I was holding on one also, on one of the long range stages. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, that curve was lining up. I didn't catch that, and that was like that 1,115 yard target. And I went just off left, just off right. But the bullets were very subsonic at that moment, so they were very unpredictable. But still going to send it. So
I think the one that the wind got me the most on, and it started off like where I literally wanted to get up and pat myself on the back for like spotting wind changes before I missed, and it was on the helicopter stage. I shot one, I shanked my first shot, impacted the second with an adjustment, and then I felt it pick up a little bit more. So I was like, all right, let's add another 2/10 to this. Impacted it, it picked up a little bit more. I'm like, should I add 2 more tenths into this? And I went and I started looking through the scope, and the X was doing this. And I was like, what is going on? The wind was shaking the whole helicopter.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't learn how to do this. How do I shoot from a vibrating target? Or a vibrating?
You need to be heavier, eat more.
Dude, no, I do not. Because another thing on my to-do list is to get bigger britches so I can bend better.
So, CJ, how about you tell us a little bit about Bushnell? That's the main reason we're doing the show, is talk about Bushnell. So tell us a little bit about how the company got its start and kind of how did they make it to where they are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bushnell started actually back in 1948. It was started by David Bushnell and was actually started as a company making binoculars. And so he was bringing binoculars over from Japan and selling them in the US. And so started with that. And then through the years, he eventually ended up selling it to Bushnell. And our product assortment continued to grow into rifle scopes. Along the way, we picked up Simmons and Tasco and making telescopes. And then we're acquired by ATK Orbital. And then in 2015, we spun off Vista Outdoor, which under that parent company, there's quite a few brands that you'd recognize. So such as you've got RCBS, Champion, Butler Creek, Hoppies, Federal, and we just bought Remington Ammunition as well. So quite a few brands under there as well. And so, yeah, so that's kind of brought us up to today. Elite Tactical wise, as far as, those products, back in 2010, Tom Fuller actually worked with us. And it was kind of his brainchild, along with a couple other people, to come out with a new scope that really fit a need as far as it was a little more compact for a magnification range, lighter weight. And that's where the HDMR came out with. We partnered with Horace, and that's, where the start of Elite Tactical started. And, now we're up to the third generation in several different products. So that's kind of from the Bushnell side, and then how Elite Tactical came to be, with our high-end, Japanese glass and scopes coming from over there.
You're on mute.
That's awesome. That's quite the history and evolution there.
It is. It's kind of it's one of those things. We make a lot of different products, and we hit a lot of different price points too. So I think we make something, something for everybody, which is one of the things that I really enjoy working at Bushnell, is because we can connect with a lot of different people, and on the ET side, obviously, Robert seems to do okay, and then can shoot relatively far with using one of our ET scopes. But yeah, no, it's cool, kind of just the story and what our brand represents.
And so what are some of the other parts of Bushnell in itself? Like, I know you said you're going to be in my neck of the woods for some sort of a disc golf tournament. So what other sports do you guys offer products for?
Yeah, so I mean, with binoculars, we make things, make binoculars for bird watchers. We've made telescopes, and then we make a lot of hunting products as well. On the hunt side, we just came out with a new rangefinder called the Broadhead that is the most accurate archery rangefinder on the market. It's accurate inside of a foot out past 150 yards. So, we're innovating on the hunt side. The 3D archers are really picking up that as well. And then, red dots on the competitive pistol side and concealed carry. And one of our new things is getting into disc golf, and that's a market that is absolutely just taken off. And it's kind of interesting to see. So
I'm seeing fishing too. I saw a professional fisherman with the Bushnell jersey too, though.
We do, yeah. So Chris Jones, down in Oklahoma, which he actually, let's see, was it last summer, finished third in the Bassmaster Classic. And so, yeah, we've got a wrapped boat, wrapped truck, and Chris is just a great guy to work with. And we actually might see him here in Springfield in a couple of weeks at the World Fishing Fair there at Bass Pro.
That's pretty cool.
Let's say, so I sometimes easily get distracted. I clicked on more products on y'all's websites. Y'all have a speed gun, camping tents. What else is in here? Flashlights? Is that what that is? Flashlights?
Yep. We've got
really great Bluetooth speakers. Really digging this. And it's magnetic. Well, I don't have anything metal, but you can clamp this thing on anything. So Bushnell's coming out with some cool stuff right now.
So yeah, we got just that's one of the things. We got a variety of a little bit of everything, so it makes it fun from my end on the marketing side, because I get to work with a lot of different people. I love getting out to matches and meeting new people and seeing friends, and I get to go out to archery events as well, and to do the same thing there. And every once in a while, go hang out on the boat and take one of those Bluetooth speakers.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Speaking about getting out to matches, you guys are just a massive supporter of the shooting sports and the precision rifle series. You guys are the title sponsor of what's probably both of our favorite matches of the year, which is the Bushnell Tactical Gap Grind. So first, we want to say thank you guys so much for putting up prizes and money and everything, and helping out with all these matches that let us do what we truly love to do. What matches are you guys most excited about this year?
Yeah, not one. And first off, that's is it really important to us? We want to support the community and show up to as many events as we can and support the prize table, because that's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's, getting more people out, and, making and finding ways to get new people involved as well, because it continues to grow, what we love to do. Gap grind is obviously, one of my favorite matches all year. I just think that's such a great setup. That was, years ago, that was the first match that I ever shot. And I got absolutely hooked on shooting competitions from then on. And so it's fun watching, people have that same experience at that match, getting to work with a pro, and just the support that you get from everybody in your squad. It is really cool to see, and it makes it an atmosphere that people want to come back and keep shooting. The NRL 22 national championships coming up. We're the title sponsor of the NRL 22, so that's coming up in May, and I'll actually be here in Missouri as well, so I'm excited to get out to that. Lori Cucuruto and Brian Sykes are co-match directing, and I think you guys had a chance to talk with them at Lori at SHOT Show about the RCBS Rumble. So that's another
so
match.
excited.
Yeah.
Listen, we've been trying for years to get her to go on camera, because she's a great spokesperson, and she will grab anybody if you walk up to her with a camera. I think 2 years ago at SHOT, she's like, "Oh no, here's John Scouton." Like she pulls him out from behind a curtain. Like, here's John Scouton. He's gonna talk. I can't argue the fact that he's a better talker. He's a great talker. But we told her she could go on as match director. She's like, "Yes, we're gonna do it."
She's great as well, but she does not like the camera.
She's great about that. Yeah, putting, and she does it like, "Hey, I'm going to introduce you to such and such, or let's get such and such in front of there," and she likes linking people up. So, but yeah, no, we're excited about that match. Being here and working with, GA Precision on that as well. In the Southeast and Atlantic regional PRS finales, we'll be out at those. Those are always fun because you get to see, some people that maybe aren't out at the 2-day matches. So you get to see a little different crowd, and get into some different regions. So, last year we went out to Virginia and went to the Atlantic regional finale. And then the other one that was really cool, I've been trying to convince Robert to come up and shoot it, but is the King of .28.
Come on, Robert. You're king of 2 miles. You got to get the king of .28 to make it complete.
I'm not scared of it. This year they're having a king of 1 mile as well, so looking at doing that. And speaking about the gap grind and king of 2 miles, me and Tom Manners had to talk about it earlier because they are on the same dates this year. King of 2 mile and gap grind. Last year I shot both of them, and I had to drive as soon as it left. Was it 17 or 18 hours straight through, get ready to shoot the match the next day. So I was hoping to not do that this time, but they overlap by 1 day this time, so that'd be impossible. So I'm going to have to make the choice of which one of those to shoot this year.
Oh, that is such a tough decision.
It is. So we're going to kind of let King of 1 mile maybe decide that for us. Just see, obviously gap grind's much bigger than that match alone is bigger than the entire ELR community around the world, I would say. So that might help us. And as far as manners goes, both of them mean a lot to us too. We have the pay it forward thing that we do every year. And then King of 2 mile means a lot to us. So it's a tough call for us, but we'll make a call and show up and show out and just do the best we can do.
We're talking about distances. So I have to ask you, Robert, how important is it to have the correct distance, have your dope dialed for the correct distance? Say if you were off by 100 yards and you were shooting off of some pipes, what would happen?
Well, what would happen is you're really going to need a 2-minute par time, and you better hope that your spot and scope and kestrel is relatively close. and that people might be standing around that might know the correct yardage.
That was the funniest video ever. So for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, is it on your page that I saw it, Robert?
It is.
Yeah. Look on his page.
In America's Funniest Home Videos.
But he's shooting. I want to say it was, you had dialed dope for 400 and something yards, maybe?
Like 5:30 instead of 4:30 or something.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have been talking. I was talking to David Wees before. He's a great guy, and we're just chatting it up, and I'm putting my camera like, yep, there we go. Dyslexia set in, or just one number off. If the number is on the following in, it wouldn't have mattered, but the first number always matters the most.
So he dialed for 5:30 instead of 4:30 or 4:28, whatever it was. And so he gets down on the first shot, first position, and he pulled the trigger and he missed. And he pulled the trigger again and he missed. And you can hear him go, huh, like, that's really odd. And I think then you had to move and you missed again, and you were like, and you left the gun, and you said something about, I think you went running back to your dope book to look or something. You said something's not right. Or yeah, you went to a second position, something's not right. And then you ended up asking like, this is it. Or you looked at your dope, you said, yeah, that's my dope for 5:30. And somebody went, it's 4:28 or whatever it was. And you were like, oh my gosh. And he went running to his kestrel. Like his gun is supported by the pot. It's safe. But he runs back to his tripod. He gets his kestrel. He looks at what it is. Okay. He runs back. He dials it. And then he managed to hit everything after that and finish the stage. Because I was like, oh man, he's going to time out. And you didn't time out. You made it. But it was the funniest thing because you were talking the whole time.
So yeah, that'll be beaten in my mind for years to come. It was the last stage of the match. I wasn't doing extremely well in the match, but I wasn't doing bad. But that sealed the deal on moving me down. It was an extremely tight match. So every little point, every time I dropped a shot, it was 5 places down, 10 places down. So it did hurt, but hopefully I learned from it and I won't do it again. And that was also the perfect storm, because any other match, like say that had been at K&M and you'd been on the berm, I would have noticed that instantly. This match, you were shooting, there's no berm and you're shooting through some reeds over water. The targets are over water and they're hitting the water 400 or 500 yards back, maybe not that far, but a long ways back. But I was in some cattail, so you're not seeing if you're high, low, left or right. So that's what I did. I took my first 2 shots, which was the wind call I trusted. It's a big, small array. Boom, miss, made a correction, miss. I was like, all right, something's wrong. So the next position, I said, it's either one or 2 things. I need to hold more wind or less wind. I always trust my dope. If you dial it correctly.
I see all your texts is what I see, not the video. You have it. There you go.
Okay. I don't know what happened, but yeah, so I gave it a little bit more wind, didn't work. Gave it a little less wind, didn't work. And at that point, I knew something was wrong, because there's no way. I just gave it 4 different wind calls, none of them connected. So I knew I had to go back to the drawing board. So I went back to the kestrel and decided to invest that time into making sure I was right. And it worked out, but the damage was done.
I love that you can laugh about it, and that, I mean, I think everyone knows you're a very good shooter and a lot of people look up to you. So I think as when beginners come in, you think, oh man, I do stupid things, but everybody does stupid things. I mean, everybody does.
Well, I'm the king of that. So
I like that you could laugh about it, and I thought it was great. It was funny though.
Well, it goes to show how much trust you can put in your equipment, because I was the weak link. One simple data error cost me. I mean, but if I do everything right, I can expect a hit out of all my gear. And that's what I really took away from it, is that, if I'm missing, there's something wrong, and it's most likely going to be me. I can trust everything. I'm not thinking that my scopes didn't track it or anything like that. It's something's wrong.
Well, I give you kudos, because I don't think most people would have figured it out on the clock. A lot of people wouldn't have figured that out, but you could tell that, like, I mean, I've had stages where I'm missing and I'm like, I don't know why. I'm just missing. I don't know. But like, you could almost tell the thought process as you're going through, and you're like kind of eliminating what it could be. And you're like, something's off. And you could tell that you were going through a checklist in your head of what could be going wrong. Why is this happening? And then you came up with let me check my dope. And then that's when you found out the distance was wrong. So, I mean, I hate that it, kind of dropped your places in the match, but I thought it was really neat. And I don't know that everybody would have come up with, I'm in a wrong distance,
Well, most people don't put themselves in that situation, and that's the simplest thing. Think about it. They give you a number, 428, whatever it was. That's all you have to do. You put it into your data solver, it generates a number, you come up, you dial in your scope. It's that simple. So I screwed up one of the most simple, basic tasks that there could be. And but if you don't, and you put it all in right, then you can expect to hit, with good gear, and it's just a win call at that point. But I always trust my dope. That's why I tell people that if there's one thing in this game that you can almost nail down perfectly, it's your dope. So get your dope right, and then it's just the win. It's just a match comes down to you put in the right information. All you have to do is hold your gun steady enough to break a good shot, have a good win call, and boom, you're on target. So when it's not working, something's wrong. And it's generally me, and I want that. It's much easier to fix me or something that I do than it is gear. If something goes wrong on gear, what are you going to do there? But if it's you can learn from it. You can make improvements, not do it again, and move forward. But,
you're a good sport for sharing it all.
Yeah. I wanted to share it because, I know other people do things like that and wonder, how much, and that's usually how that's how I'd gauge my success is eliminate mental errors. Say I'd start off, I'd do 10 major ones in a match. Then I'd work on it. Now I'm down to 5 and I'm making progress. And then when I can get down to 0, then we can really start making some headway. But 0 is hard to obtain, but it's possible. So that match, we didn't hit it, but next one we will.
There's a stage at Mammoth. If I had a video of it, I would share it because it was like comedy of errors. I mean, I'm talking, I got up to the line and had forgotten to put my pistol on. So I scramble and do that. And then we run, and my targets were listed in meters. You didn't get it till you're on the clock, and they were in meters. So I'm trying to convert them and write on a piece of paper while my partner's shooting. And then my paper blew away, and I was running after the paper. And when I shot my pistol, the magazine fell out. I mean, it was like, if it could have gone wrong, but it was hilarious. I was laughing at myself the whole time. I was like, man, if I had a video, I'd totally share it because it was pretty bad.
Well, you don't take yourself too serious in this game. I mean, you got to laugh at yourself some. And there's no one in this entire sport that hasn't made a mistake. And there's no one in this entire sport that's not going to not make a mistake in the future. So when it comes, I mean, laugh about it, learn from it, move on, and you'll have more fun. That's why we're at these matches anyway, is to have fun. So if you can't have fun, you're in the wrong sport. Maybe take up disc golf or something.
Well, it's always amazed me. I've learned a lot over the years from watching Robert, and just the amount of, like, you make a mental error like that, the amount of composure, to maintain and go and not time out on the stage, just to go back and do that. I learned a lot, and I've always admired watching him do that because, it's easy to get frazzled when you make a mental error, and the rest of the stage, goes downhill from there.
I'm telling you, it was impressive how you pulled it together. I mean, I know you probably kicked yourself about that stage, but it was very impressive that you pulled it together. And I mean, you hit everything after that, and you stayed calm, and you just made your shots. And I thought it was good.
Well, I got a rule. The further away the match is, the better you need to do, because a drive home after you bomb something sucks. That was the very last stage of the match. That's about a 7-hour drive. So I'm sure you can imagine what I was thinking about for 7 hours while I was driving back. It was like, you dummy, why'd you do that? Never to be done again, we'll say, knock on wood.
Double check, triple check, quadruple check. But
Yeah.
I watched somebody do that at Cool Acres, and he did not realize his error until after the stage. So, and
they have berms there. Like I said, if I would have been on a stage and had a berm and it was 1 mil high, whatever it is, I'm not even going to worry about it. If I knew that was a good shot, I'm going to hold 1 mil low. I'm going to trust my equipment, trust my capabilities, and keep rolling. I might hold, I might dial it out, but I'll make the adjustment. But when you have 0 feedback from a stage like that, like I said, it was a perfect storm. It just gave you no feedback. So It was very unforgiving. It was fun, and I do like that because it's a problem-solving thing, and it lets you trust your gear. But you have to do everything right to begin with, and if you can screw it up, I will sooner or later, but just learn. And then, when you mess up like that over time, it teaches you how to, first off, red flag goes up, something's wrong. I mean, why would you keep shooting is my thought. Like, if I'm not hitting and I've done all the win calls, why would I keep shooting? So I'd rather time out but get a few points than just waste ammo and get 0 points. So if there's a problem, just back up, regroup, think about it, and attack it with a plan B. Just, I've thought about since then, I'm going to start wearing a Kestrel on my hip with just and it's always on and the dad on it, or maybe an armband with all my dad on it. We wear armbands in the PRS, but we generally write down our dope for that single stage, right? So if you got targets 3, 4, and 5, all right, 1, 1, 8, 2, 5, and that's all the data I have because that's all I need. But I might have a second page now with all the data. So if a guy says, "Oh, it's 450 reference," cool, 2 mils, dial it, keep rocking. So it, sometimes errors like that make you change your plan for the future, and those changes might benefit me some other way in the future. So live and learn.
Shooting mammoth, that's what we did. Our arm board had every 25 yards. So because it was unknown distances, so you get up there and it got pretty fast, finding what your dope was on there. So
I do that for NRL Hunter, and I'm liking that method too. I wear 2 armbands for NRL Hunter. One of them has on my right hand, it has my data. So I run the Fusion X laser range finding binos. I scan, boom, there's a target, range it, 500 yards. I look down, it says 2.5 is my hold for that. I write on my Armageddon gear, just a blank one, 2.5. So when I get on my data, I run down. Now I just focus on this one, and I don't have to weed through any numbers and get that. But I do enjoy that on the fly data collection and management. There's a lot to be said for that, I think, and that's a real practical way of doing things. I think, I'm going to try mammoth one day.
you should.
Get in a lot better shape and then go out there. Me and CJ might team up on them.
Let's
I
do
was
it.
about to say, you gonna take CJ?
Yeah, me and CJ gonna tear it up.
Hey, I got a rucksack if you need to borrow it.
I got one in my house, but I've been putting my boy in it, so not really getting ready for mammoth, just trying to get in better shape. But that's our thing. I put him in the bag, we walk around and have a good time. So I thought about it. I had a abdomen surgery this last year, and then leg surgery a few years back, and I always said, motivated me, once I heal up from that, I'm going to get in better shape and start doing some of these shoots. The NRL Hunter kind of is my leap into that, as far as it's a field type match. You got to find the targets, range them, manage your data, all that stuff. And then, so next time I'll just incorporate a little physical stuff into it and start hitting some of the sniper challenges and like the mammoths and such. I think it'll be fun.
That'll be awesome. I've yet to shoot one. I've been at many ROing, doing media or whatever, and holy cow, like the amount of quick thinking you have to do on the clock, it's cool. It's some people get really excited about I get to walk 1,000 miles before I pull the trigger. I'm just excited about the stages where instead of, like I love a PRS stage brief where it's, your first target is this one, it's right there, guys. And then your second one is this one right here. And you're going to shoot from here and here and here. But I love that you get like this puzzle, like 1,000-piece puzzle shaken up in a box. And it's like, here's your stage brief, 5 minutes, go.
Yep. I love that too. It really brings out any errors you might have in your system and such like that. And you really have to streamline your process and your workflow. And I do enjoy that because I shoot PRS, NRL, all these different things because, I want to grow as a precision rifle competitor, maybe not be the best PRS shooter or what have you. I want to just be the total package, that the best I can be. And, running those kind of matches, you'll learn things that you can take to another discipline of shooting and vice versa. So really learning how to solve problems on the fly like that can tune you up, I think, and I enjoy it. I mean, really, that's the most practical style of shooting I guess you could come across. So, I mean, that translates into hunting and things like that very well. And then it proofs your gear too. I mean, you have to have solid gear. You're testing your rangefinder, your data, your problem solving. I mean, everything has to come together.
Cool. Anyway, we're about at the midpoint of the show. So remember, if you're watching us live on Facebook, ask any questions you may have in the comment section of the video, and we'll ask it live on air to the guys. Other ways to catch us, you can always check back on the Shooter's Mindset Facebook page. The videos stay up there forever. We usually upload I don't want to say all of the podcasts, but like 8 different podcast apps the night after the show. So whenever I get home from work tomorrow, we'll get those uploaded. And eventually everything will also end up on the Shooter's Mindset YouTube page. So if you want to go back and look at, just pages and pages of 369 other episodes in addition to this one, head over there and check that out.
So Bushnell has a lot of new things that have come primarily from your involvement in the precision rifle shooting world. Tell us some of those things and talk about the new reticle.
Yeah, so we spent quite a bit of time in the last couple years, spending time at matches and really, working with different shooters and asking what are people looking for. Of course, there's lots of different flavors of reticles out there, and so we worked with with Robert and Brian Sykes and George and Gardner, and just trying to find what's the next evolution as far as reticles and coming out with that. So Travis Overfeld, our product manager for the Elite Tactical line, spent a lot of time, and we came out with the G4P, which was the next evolution of the G3 line, which is the Christmas tree style reticle. You've got mover holds on the windage stadia. And so the G4P was one that we launched actually at Gap Grind. And that was the first place that we had it where people could see it. And we did a side stage so everybody could go through. It's a floating dot with a combination of inside 1 mil, it's quarter mil holds, and then outside it goes to halves. So it's really one that cuts down on simplifying a lot of the information. And then this new reticle, which, you got to take a peek at SHOT Show when you guys came by, is called the EQL. And so it's really made for those that like a little more information. It's a 210 space reticle, but it's done in a way that is basically the information you need without making the reticle busy. You can see, there you go. You can see, and follow your trace, so you've got a floating center dot, which is super nice to have. You still have the mover holds on your windage stadia there at 1.2 and 1.5 mils on either side. And then it's 2/10 on your every other windage and on your vertical elevation stadia, and then every other is 0.5 mil. So like I said, this is a new one that'll be available in June, and so it's going to be great. I've been talking with Robert about using it in the ELR game with a little more information on it, and we've really seen that a lot of rimfire shooters have been looking at this as well, having that information and being able to use the hold under as well. So when you got a swinging target, that was one thing that we looked at as well. So yeah, this will be available in both the XRS3 and DMR3 in June, and they're both, the DMR3 is going to be 1,500 and the XRS3 is 1,700.
And that's huge value for a scope of that quality. I mean, to me, it hangs with any other model out there. It's really in the top tier of optics, I believe. And I own some other very nice optics and go out there and compare them. And I mean, the glass quality is there, the mechanics and reliability of it's there, and it's a very simple design too. So, I mean, it's hard to screw up, but it gives you everything you need and just works flawlessly. So I've been a big fan of it since they came out, and knock on wood, never had any issue with any of them. So this is just icing on the cake to make a great optic.
And
So
Greg,
the XRS and the DMR, both those lines have been around for a while, and we're now on the third generation. Can you kind of tell us like what's improved these over the previous generations and kind of what the difference between the XRS and the DMR3 are?
yeah, absolutely. So the new, we've got the XRS3, DMR3, which both launched earlier this fall. The new reticle, that EQL reticle, will be available here in June. But in which, by the way, just touching a couple more things on that reticle. So down at 7 mils, it actually has a milling section as well. And just kind of a fun thing, it's called the EQL it's short for equalizer. So it is, if you think about like a sound wave, how it undulates. So on your windage undulates. So what it does is it makes it a lot easier for your eye to gravitate towards your hold once you know where your hold is, because it's kind of in a wave pattern. So that's something that's unique to that specific reticle. But as you look at the DMR3 and the XRS3, the XRS3 is actually an entirely new configuration for us. So it's a 6-36 by 56. The parallax goes down to 50 yards. And yeah, this was one that we were definitely thinking along the lines of the king as we were producing this, and his his longer shots there. It has that similar eye box, that to get behind it. So, you're lined up right behind it. The DMR3 has a more forgiving eye box. It's a 3.5 to 21 by 50. And it honestly is, if you haven't gotten behind one, it's really comfortable to get behind. The eye relief on it and the eye box is super forgiving. So, getting on a stage where you're not quite comfortable, it's easy to get a full sight picture as you're looking through the scope. And that one, the parallax on the XRS3 goes down to 25 yards. And so what you're getting on the new ones over the second gen is we emboldened the turret markings so they're easier to see. We changed up the color on them a little bit so that they stand out more. Same zero stop system. And you're actually on both of those, there's even a 2% more or better performance glass wise. So you're gonna get better light transmission out of it. And especially with that 56 millimeter objective on the XRS3, it's gonna gather a lot of light.
And when they first told me it was a 2% lighting increase, I was like, that's really nothing to it, right? Like that, I'm not going to notice that. Well, they sent me my new pair. I went out to George's range and I put it side by side with what the XRS2 I've been running, and I instantly saw a little bit better detail in mirage and things like that. And like I said, I never thought I'd see 2% increase, but I do believe that is a pretty significant amount to see. I mean, I totally believe I see more detail with this scope, and I didn't think I'd see that much more from the other one, as it was great, but this is wonderful, and the glass quality is right up there with anything else I can throw at it. So that 56 has helped out a lot, I'd say.
So,
No
and
doubt.
one of the other things that we get a lot of feedback, is the testing that we go through, on our optics and the durability, right? Like Robert said, you don't want to get in a stage where you're zero shifting, or the elements, whether they're hot or cold, is affecting your optic. That affects the rest of a match or can cause you to drop out of a match. And so we go through a lot of rigorous testing on those optics. Robert used them for a while as far as showing, the tracking and the durability, how well they've they've held. I've had stories of people, shooting, some sniper challenge matches where they actually dropped their rifle or knocked it off and hit a couple of rocks. They picked it up and they cleaned the next stage. So it's always great hearing stories like that.
And we've tested these XRS scopes to the extreme limits. Like for the King of 2 Mile gun, I'm about a mil off the bottom of the elevation travel and my zero is about 36 inches high above my point of aim. And then for those long shots, we're dialing it all the way up, then using the reticle on top of it. So, and it tracks to the click. If my solver tells me, 35 mils is my hold, my group is centered up around that mark. So, they track perfectly. And I quit doing tracking tests on them a while back because every one I'm passing, I was like, I'm just wasting ammo. So, I just quit doing it. I just trust them now. Open one out of the box, throw it on, zero it, roll out to a match, never have a concern or question it. So they're rock solid. If there's anything I'll say about those optics is the Elite Tactical line is they're built like a tank and they're durable and they hold up. And
so these sound like super awesome scopes for some PRS shooting or NRL shooting, NRL hunter, any of that stuff. But like, do you guys have something that's like, might win some sort of a super long distance match, like really far?
That's something, if only we had a guy that, maybe made the, what is it, the second longest or the longest shot, in competition history, maybe using one of those scopes. That'd be a pretty good statement for one of those scopes. But
I don't know if we know anybody like that, though.
I don't know.
Oh, no. Robert, you know anybody?
I met a guy. We hit 4,230 yards on the clock this last year with it in May. Like I said, it tracked true. That same match too, we also had to my knowledge, that's what they told me, it was the first time we had a first round impact at 2 miles on the clock. I think 4 other people ended up doing it in that match too. So it kind of become common during that match. A lot of good runs in that, but yeah, we connected at 4,230 yards with it. It tracked true. We had to use a Charlie. We're using 110 minutes in our rifle cant so that we can shoot out to those long ranges. And then as soon as we get max out, we put a Charlie unit, which is a prism that shifts your image down, forcing you to raise your barrel up for even longer shots. And I think ours is set to 40 mils. So I just subtract 40 mils out of my solution, put that thing on the front of my scope and keep rolling. And it tracked dead on. It was just the wind game. Saw one to the left, made a correction, went off to the right, and we just played the game and put one on it. And it was pretty much a water line too, which was pretty cool. But that was fun. I got the bullet. We found the bullet as well because there's only one other guy, Ken Johnson, clipped the corner of it. I don't think they found his bullet because it probably went off just because of where he hit it at. But since we hit it on the steel, looked down on the ground, and there's the bullet just laying there. I got it over here on the cabinet, and that'll be something for history. I also have the dollar bill that I bet because the guy was like, it was Peter Rimler. He's like, how many people are going to hit that target? And everyone's like 7, 9 people, 4 people. I bet 0. I was like, that thing's like a half of a mile per hour wide and just really far out there, and you're over 2 different canyons. So the odds of anyone hitting is pretty slim. So I bet my dollar on it. They wrote my name on it. We hit the target. So I was like, I'm going to have that dollar back, guys. So I got the bullet sitting on it.
That is awesome. Which, when you won King of 2 Mile, which Bushnell optic was it?
That was the XRS2. The 3 wasn't out at that time. They sent me a 2. I remember they sent it to Raton, New Mexico, where I was at. And we put it on there and zeroed it up and did everything and went out there and it worked.
That is awesome. And
we missed one target on the qualifying run. And it was just me not knowing what kind of wind to expect with that because I hit targets, I think 1, 2. Yeah, 2. And I was like, I'll probably need to add a little wind for 3. Went to 3, sent it off the upwind side. I was like, man, this thing's pretty awesome. Just it kept rolling, hit everything else. So, that's the ultimate test because we started out with a 1,000-yard zero. our first targets at 1550 and then moving out to like, I don't know what it is, 2,700 or something like that. And I mean, to the click, everything just lined up perfect. So, and then we come back down to 0, dead on. I mean, so that to me, that's a really good test because you're testing reliability because you're dialing a lot from both ends of the spectrum. It's not like in most precision rifle competitions where you're living in, say, a 10 mil range. You're living in a 30 or 40 mil range, and you're putting heavy recoil to it. So, you know, there's a lot of things going on there that could easily fail, and the thing just tracks true. And we put on those guns and ship them across the country. We can't put them in cases. We put them in the bed of an F-250 and tear out. And, you know, you wonder if it's going to be on when it gets there, and it's never failed me. So the things hold up. And that's one reason I've always stuck with Bushnell for the years. It just, I never really had to worry about it. It's too simple of a design to screw up and too strong of a scope to have to worry about. So everything points like this is a great product. So just something I keep rolling with.
That is awesome. I remember when you bought that rifle out to Precision Rifle Expo after you won the match, and were nice enough to let some of us get behind the trigger. And it's so funny. The scope looks so freaking tiny on such a big gun. But you can clearly, like, I saw the impact that I made at, how far was that? 1.3 mile, 2,600? I don't know. All the way up.
I think it's 2,600 yards, 2,600 yards. I mean, it was a long ways. And a lot of people hit that target, you know, with that scope. I just hand it to them like, here you go. They'd adjust a little bit for their eye and send it, and boom. I might have to give them a wing call each time. But, you know, we shot that thing, was it 250 times that day? The barrel was scorching hot. You know, and I don't know if you remember, we had people down below with a cooler and full of ice water, bringing towels up. I'd like, you're bringing the wet towel up. We'd bring it, put it over the barrel, let it cool down for a second, and put it on it. And that scope, you know, still, I mean, I still got it in the safe, still put it on that thing. It still works fine. So
that is awesome. That was a super fun day.
I loved watching people. They would shoot bang. I don't see it. You know, boom, then it hit. You know, no one was prepared for those times of flights.
That's what I did. I pulled the trigger, and I'm like looking up at the sky. I'm like, wow, this recoil is more than a 6mm. I'm like hustling, trying to get back down onto it. I'm like, damn, I missed seeing. I thought to myself, I said, I missed seeing my miss. And then I saw it splash. I'm like, that was cool. That was
so
really
that
cool.
long shot we made, I'd already gotten up off the gun. I mean, it was a 9-second time of flight or something like that. And, you know, like we didn't see anything. So I got off the gun, and then Shane Bryan was my spotter. And I just remember looking back, and he went, impact, you know, and he was just like so excited or whatever. I was like, what? It was still in the air.
Robert's already got a sandwich in his mouth.
Yeah. I'd already eaten half of it.
Well, the one that we shot, your gun, that was what, 2,400 yards, so almost half. And it was about a 3.5 second flight time. So I imagine that thing's in the air about 6 or 7 seconds.
Yeah, I think it was 9 seconds what we added up for that shot. It was a long ways. And it's just amazing if you look at what that would be in mils, and you're looking down a long ways, forcing you to pick up. I mean, I can see if I zoom out a little bit and move my head around and see the parallax, I can see my muzzle brake in the scope, in the optic. So if I needed to go any further, I would not be able to with my current setup, because I'd be looking into my barrel. And so I shoot the Charlie unit for any of those long shots, but they have what they call the Delta, which is a prism that goes, not only points down, but it offsets away from the barrel. So you're looking off of it. One of the benefits of that is you're not looking at mirage coming off your barrel as well, and you can stare down it. That's why in ELR, you see a lot of guys used to, at least before the Charlies came out, a lot of guys with a really tall scope mount, or scope base, so they could get the barrel way on out there, get that velocity, and then be able to clear it line of sight wise to shoot at distance. So the TACOM HQs, those Charlies, have kind of changed the need for that, but you know, it's those ELR guns are pretty wild. You know, it will test everything, especially bullet prediction.
Mhm.
You know, you better be pretty spot on your data to catch that, because they might look big when you stand at them, but they might be 2 or 3 tenths tall or wide. You know, so there's a lot of room for error in something like that. So you gotta be on your game.
Some of the stuff that goes into the ELR stuff, like the first time I saw one of the offset prism things, I was just like, what in the heck is that?
Yes.
Let me hit a
And
live
that was
question
coming
real
in the
quick.
rimfire game too, because rimfires obviously need a lot of drop, or they do drop a lot, so you need a lot of correction for it. So guys wanting to stretch them out really far are using in that game too. So they're growing.
Yeah, I need to. I'm thinking about putting a 60 MOA base on that just for make those 400 yarders a little bit easier.
That's a poke with that, but
Yeah.
so you obviously you need a scope too with a lot of travel, and that's another reason I always use the XRS. It's got plenty of travel, and I'm not going to mention names, but we tried some other scope brands at the shop at Manners for the other teammates, and I never realized that when you work to the extreme edges of a scope, how much you can lose optical clarity. And this is a top brand that we had on one of the rifles, and we were doing the same thing where we're around a mil from the bottom, and I could barely make out the target. And I'm thinking there's bad mirage or something. I move over to my XRS. I was like, oh, it's clear as day. But when you dial it up and you get to those end of the spectrums, and I guess you got 2 tubes that aren't perfectly aligned, you know, you really start losing optical clarity. And every brand's going to suffer, but how much you suffer, you know, it could be a big thing. And I can still see a perfect for my 100-yard zero, and I can dial all the way up and still make out good clarity for those long shots, because if it's blurry, you're not going to think about what you see at 4,000 yards, 3,000 yards. You know, if you kick up dirt, it probably won't be a lot. It's lost a lot of energy, and you might be looking through a lot of mirage or something like that. So you need every little bit you can get. So it might not seem like a big deal, but it really is when you can retain that optical clarity and not have to worry about tracking, not have to worry about losing a zero from a heavy recoil and rifle. So when you can get that complete package like that, it goes a long ways. It really helps out.
Did you have a live, Greg?
Yes. And I think I saw this a couple of times so far today. The people, and in this particular case, Joe is asking if there's any chance he might see a Forge 15X binos with a reticle in the future. Yeah,
Joe, you're definitely not the first to ask. You know, talking with people at matches, we do get asked that a lot, and it is something we'd like to consider looking at in the future. But yeah, that is something we get asked quite a bit for.
So maybe.
Maybe.
Strong maybe.
Nothing at this moment. But.
So Robert alluded a little bit to the NRL 22 Rimfire series, which has just exploded. The PRS Rimfire and NRL 22, those have just exploded. So many kids and women shooting it, and a bunch of guys too. Everybody loves it. So you guys released the Match Pro specifically for this market, didn't you?
We did.
So tell us a little bit about it and what makes it perfect for rimfire.
Yeah. So we have a illuminated version and a non-illuminated version. You know, both are a 6-24 by 50, and the parallax goes down to 10 yards, which is great for throwing it on top of a rimfire rifle. But yeah, when we went to working with our engineering team here in Kansas City, we wanted to design something that performed very well and above its price point, but we also wanted to introduce something at a price point that allowed those wanting to shoot base class to have a really good option. So the time it was combined your rifle and optic had been 1050 or less, or 1050. And so, this worked. We looked at the price points of, a lot of the popular rifles that people were, the factory production rifles people were shooting, and then built the price point based off of that. And, so we knew we needed to be around 450 to 500 to really allow base class competitors to have, to be able to use this optic. And so that's where that started. And, it was really with rimfire in mind. And, that being said, we still test the Mash Pro on up to all the standards that we do recoil wise for Elite Tactical as well. So you could throw it on a centerfire rifle, no problem. And, which makes it a great option, for somebody that is, looking to get into, centerfire and shooting competitions. You've got an exposed turret, so you can still dial. But yeah, it makes a great option for both. But yeah, that was kind of the backstories, wanting to make the best base class capable scope on the market.
That's the biggest question I think we get from beginners is like, basically, to rephrase what everybody asks is like, what's the cheapest glass I can buy that'll be functional for what PRS is. People are trying to get into it and scopes cost a lot, so they're like, what can I get that's going to be the least pain on my wallet and let me be able to come and shoot a match and learn and become competitive with it. So
and I think it surprises people too, when they get behind them, the glass is on par with a $800 or $900 optic, even though we sell it for 500. So I think I know being at the NRL 22 national championship, and we do some side stages, and so watching people's reactions when they get behind it, they see, oh yeah, this is on par with an $800 or $900 optic.
I highly underestimated it when I first got it. Being used to the Elite Tactical lineup, I'm used to these certain features and the reliability of it. And I had a big boo-boo with mine, and it took a major spill on a heavy rifle. I had it sitting on a tailgate. My dog jumped up. We were at Thanksgiving party with all the family, and they called in, dinner's ready. So we all went in there, left the gun on the farm on the tailgate, come back about an hour later, and the dog had been dragging around. It jumped on the tailgate, wrapped its chain around the bipod, and was dragging this rifle around. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder how bad it is. Put it back up on the bench, shot it. It was dead on, tracked it true. It held on dead nuts, and that's still on my gun to this day. So it's got some beauty marks on it.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, I did not expect it to hold up to something like that. And it's got a cool reticle too. It's got a floating dot. I don't think it's got 2 tenths hole, but it's got plenty of holes. It's got a Christmas tree under it, and that floating dot. Like it's a lot of scope for $500. I can't see many $500 scopes holding up to what this thing does and performing like that. So I'm going to stick to the Elite Tactical in my competitions. But if someone's looking for an entry level optic, I'd have no problem recommending that to most anybody.
So I've heard of them being durable. This is definitely the first time I've heard about one being dragged around behind a dog.
After falling off the pickup truck. I mean, the dragging it isn't what got me. It's the falling off the truck.
I should have put it on the table. It's got some nice scars on the top, so it must have landed on the scope. And come outside, the dog just smiling, looking at me, and she's dragging, and the chain's wrapped around it. And I mean, it's a good testament for the entire gun. It was in a Manners Mini chassis, and it was a Voodoo 22, and the thing still shoots phenomenal. It's still my only comp 22, and still running. I just gave it a little dusting off, cleaned the lens off, and rock and roll.
The dog wanted to shoot some PRS rimfire.
I told him I wish he had caught that on the Ring doorbell or something, right? We could.
I know it. I would have loved that.
Oh, that would have been the best Bushnell ad ever.
We might have to replicate it one day.
That's like I saw the we were talking earlier before the show about the tornadoes, and I saw the best Chevy truck commercial ever. It gets taken out by a tornado, flips over, spins around on its side, somehow gets flipped back over onto its wheels and drives down the road.
built Chevy tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how these are. I mean, I traveled before I worked at Manners. I was a pipeliner for 13 years, and I traveled across the country and just kept the guns in the back of the truck, and for the most part, always used those Elite Tacticals. And man, they were never given an easy life. And you know, I could go from Pennsylvania to Utah, and when I got there, the gun's gonna be zeroed, the data's gonna track, and I mean the reliability is just there. So you know, it doesn't impress me when they hold up to these things, because I've seen it for years. I mean, it's not surprising that, like, oh, it still holds zero. Wow. You know, it took a little spiel. Wow. I can't believe it's still on. It's just, I'd be more surprised if it wasn't. They hold up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, CJ, we need to do a torture test one day.
Let's do it. All right. I'll come to you and yeah,
With your rifle though.
Oh, we'll bring some dog treats and we'll.
It's got to be your rifle though.
Okay.
We wanted to do a torture test at Guardian at GTI this year. We were trying to find somebody to send us the scope to put in this Ford Taurus that we packed 75 pounds worth of tannerite into, just to see what it looked like at the end.
Was that Gary's idea?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We're sitting there, we're like, we need to put a scope on top of the car. Like, not one of mine.
You need to paint it orange so you can find that joker, because it blew that car to smithereens. That was rough.
We never found the roof.
I feel like people with those kind of ideas are who keep ERs in business.
Oh yeah, we came close a couple times that weekend.
You know, me and Jared Chambers shot that match, and I fell down that pipe, the one they had you fast rope down.
Uh-huh.
And luckily I didn't have my gun on my back. I'd already roped it down, but I never fast roped. It was like, how hard can this be? You know, just you know, it went straight down and landed on the gun. Easy there, Greg. But
you're gonna put me in her ER with how hard you got me laughing tonight. How hard could
told the match director, like, yeah, I'm not built for fast rope, especially with all that gear.
They did not do fast roping this year.
Yeah, I fell, and another guy fell too. I think right after me, and he broke his femur or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not for the best. You know, that rope went over a ledge. So when I was going, you know, you can't keep your grip around it. So you got to break it one over, you know, and when I went on the other side of it, I thought I had a grip on it, and it just, on my feet, it just wasn't what I thought it was. And it was all dark. I'm wearing a headlamp, can't see anything. And then, or I know I'm just free falling, you know, but I had some Champion Ear Pro, and I had it, instead of over my head, I had it turned on the back, and I had those cushions that like soak up sweat and all that. And that's what hit. That's what saved me from a pretty good head injury, I'd say. But I just lay there for a second. I was like,
marketing.
I'm about to say, Robert, you are one of the best sponsored shooters I've met.
we just
screwing everything up.
Fast roping, make sure you're wearing Champion.
Yeah.
We just when we got to prototype a new product, we just send it to him, and if it lasts what he puts it through, it'll hold up to anybody.
That's right. Yeah. I'll screw something up.
That needs to be like a seal of approval. And like, you know, you got to get a picture in there, like Champion Ear Pro, Brantley tough. And there's a picture of him.
Not one of my proudest moments, I'll say that. Yeah, they should have sent Sykes to that match. He could fast rope for me, I'm sure, very easy. And he can handle that part, and I'll just handle the simple shooting stuff.
He probably could have caught you down at the bottom too.
Yeah, I know, and then throw me down to the end and been ready to roll. What made it so sad that stage is after I fell and I got up and got my bearings, we ran all the way to the end and laid down. And as soon as I found that scope in my sight picture and I did a holdover, I was about to pull the trigger and they yelled, "Time!" I'm like, I fell for nothing. Like, I didn't even get to take a shot off. So that was the worst of it.
That's crazy.
I'll remember that for the rest of the days.
What are y'all's thoughts on the future of optics? Do you think we're going to see more like smart optics, like the Revic or the new advanced fire control system for the Army's new fancy thing? Or you think we're
talking about that
today?
I definitely think that's the future. How soon we see that. These guys would know a little bit better, but I do think that's the future. You know?
Yeah, I do see, that being the future. And I think, just how far, rifles and ammunition and everything has just come, I think, it's the natural progression that, as optics companies, we're trying to find ways to integrate, electronics. And I think you're seeing that, with some of the things that the military contracts that are coming up and, some of the products that are coming to market. So I do see that as potential, or the way that it's moving towards. It'll be interesting to see, what the different applications are, right? Some of the things that are specifically designed for the military versus civilian use, and how affordable some of those options are to your everyday consumer, versus a military contract.
I'm interested to see it, because it's already kind of started, with the Revit coming out.
Mhm.
I'm just, wondering in 10 years, am I going to be able to tell Siri, Siri, the target's at 900 yards, or, Siri, shoot the deer over there. Siri, find the deer for me.
Yeah, it'll be thermal and everything in it. I mean, look at the, I'm sure everyone's seen those old tracking point rifles that did most everything, but even on a basic consumer level, the Burris Eliminator for years, I mean, they integrated a few things that would not work in PRS or any of our stuff whatsoever. It falls drastically short, but, it is a step in that. And I think you'll see things to come in the future on it. But I mean, it went to like the weapon mounted rangefinders, at first they were just rangefinders, and then they started integrated ballistics. And then, now you got binos that are range finding and can integrate ballistics. And I mean, so it's moving that direction for sure.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see too, competition wise and on the hunt side, if there are in reaction to some of these products being released, if there's new rules or regulations, on that side too, just so people remain ethical on the hunt side, and on the competition side, you still, retain a lot of the challenge.
No doubt. Yes, a fine line on that, because competition drives innovation in a lot of ways, and it makes people looking for that little edge that they can get, so, but at the same time, they have rules and regulations to keep everything fair and honest, because you don't want it to be a gear race, but I remember those challenges on those tracking point rifles, like, oh, this is going to dominate competition and no one can outshoot that. And someone showed up in a match and just got skull drugged, just by people dialing turrets and all, so there's still a lot to be said for the old analog reliability and simplicity of things. But, the technology is definitely cool. And once they get it perfected, it'll be awesome. They're telling what kind of capabilities we'll have.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been shooting precision rifle for 15 years, and it's just, to me, mind blowing. Well, obviously when I started, I knew very little. So, but seeing the trends just in 15 years, what it's done, it's been just very cool. Can't imagine where we're going to. So
It's
we'll see. You got to
crazy.
stay on CJ, get more stuff out.
Come on, CJ. We want it all. We want to pull the trigger for us.
Yeah, quit holding back, buddy.
All right.
We wanted to have the whole matchbook in it, so if we forget what the yardage is, we can refer to the matchbook within the binos or within the.
Yeah, within
Let's
the
just
scope.
take the scope.
Think about it. I could have right then and there, boom, I missed twice, hit a button, range it, get my solution, and it adjust my reticle and keep rolling. I'm like, I don't know what's so hard about this game.
Yeah. He's not having to go check his matchbook. He just knows it's 4:30 instead of 5:30. Like, it's just
That's right.
automatically dials for you.
DJ can correct me, but I think like Bushnell is who brought the laser rangefinder to the civilian market. Am I wrong on that?
No, so actually
25
years. Yeah, last year we celebrated our 25th anniversary since we brought the laser rangefinder and specifically for hunting to the market. And that was actually a big part of, what back then was called Bushnell Tactical before it was Elite Tactical. Is, around that 2010, kind of thereafter was, you had the Elite 1 Mile and the Connex, as far as a horizontal rangefinder. And, we had some government contracts with that. So you'd see a lot of the special forces that were running those along with the LMSS and using that. So, and it's amazing to see how far the technology has come even since then, and how more powerful lasers have gotten, even with our hunt laser rangefinders compared to, what those did, 10 years ago.
Can you imagine that the game changer that was back then, just getting a yardage? That's the biggest variable in shooting that you don't know. I mean, but if you can dial in your range, it's almost a given. But how unreliable milling targets is, and I challenge anybody to get an accurate range milling inside of 300 or 400 yards, and inside that it doesn't really matter too much. But just getting that solid range is huge.
Mm-hmm. Well, even, we've got, the new Fusion X that you've been using, the range finding bino, and then the Nitro 1800 rangefinder that we have. And I was using that at hunter matches, last year. And, so that is powered by Applied Ballistics. So you've got your solution right there as far as ranging it and then knowing what your hold is, which makes it really nice to have that in the same display.
Not only that, them guys need a shout out for, it's the only one, to my knowledge, these rangefinders that have a dot. They have a bigger circle like you see with most rangefinders, but they also have a dot within it. So, when you're doing precision rifle competitions, you're usually trying to hit something a lot smaller than that circle that a rangefinder gives you, and you just center it up the best you can. Well, the Fusion X's, it's got a dot within it, and I've done a lot of testing. And I go out to say power line poles or pipeline markers that are skylined, and the dot's dead on, and I can hit a pretty small target at distance, but I know I'm hitting that. So that's been one of my favorite features on that Fusion X, is just having that floating dot. I mean, anyone that shoots PRS and all raves about the dot in their scope. So to have one on your rangefinder is, the same benefit to that, and works well, and just increases your capability. And that thing is, what are those, $700?
Yep, 700.
Yeah, I've got some $2,500 laser rangefinder binders, some $3,000 ones, and range finding wise, these things hold with it just as well. And that's what I've been running the NRL Hunter, and 95% of the targets I can hit them first shot, get my data, and roll. They're very impressive for the money. And I don't know what most binos cost more than that, much less getting range finding capabilities at that. It's pretty cool. Big fan.
And then Robert, in the hunter matches, have you been able to see, you get some of the shadowed backgrounds and stuff, you get to see active sync, in the color?
I haven't. I'm familiar with it. Obviously, it turns red versus black depending on the background, but it's but I haven't. It hasn't done that for me yet. I haven't been in a situation really where I needed it, but I do need to take it out at dusk and all and check it. But yeah, it'll correct for that. And what's really cool about this is that this is where rangefinders need. It's got a brush mode. It's got a target mode. So if I'm looking through some brush, I can go to brush mode, and a little tree will pop up on the thing, and it'll shoot through whatever I'm trying to shoot. So if there's some limbs in the way, I'll just aim it on the target, shoot it, and tell it. But say if my target's ahead of the brush, I'll go to target mode, shoot it, and it'll ignore the far away distances and just give me the close ones. So it's really nice that, if I got infinite time, I'm going to bracket the target. I'm going to hit the target, and I'm going to try to intentionally miss it to make sure I'm ranging that. But on the clock, you might not have that luxury. So I'll set it to the setting needed. And it's just one button. It's super quick. It's just a toggle switch. It goes through 3 settings: brush mode, bullseye mode, and just regular range mode, and just function back and forth between it and get the range, write down the data. And this last NRL Hunter match I shot, everything just I mean, it connected with it, meaning I had accurate range. So that was super cool, you know, and helped out a ton. So it's an awesome product.
That is awesome. I think that these hunter matches and sniper matches have kind of pushed everybody to get ranging binos. Where before some people had them, but it wasn't like everybody had a pair. But now I think everybody is really wanting to go that direction.
The
Greg,
PRS has changed the precision rifle competitor on what they gear they need, because I know a lot of people that are very successful PRS shooters, they don't even own a rangefinder because they provide it to you. But then you put them out in the field, you know, where you don't give you range, and your $10,000 scoped rifle is now useless. Like, you're completely limited, you know, because you don't know the range. So I've always been a big geek when it comes to rangefinders and stuff, and I've got a safe full of them. I've probably got 8 or 9 of different kinds, and some are binos, some are standalone units, a lot of Vectronics units and stuff like that work well for extreme long ranges. And yeah, that is a very limiting thing. So if you want to add that to your arsenal and just have it for $700, you got binos, you got rangefinder. It's got some onboard ballistics, but most of us use a Kestrel or something like that, and now you're set for anything. I mean, you go hunting with a long range rifle and you don't have a rangefinder, you're dead in the water. You better hope he's 200 or 300 yards and in. Then you're back to milling.
Yeah, that was, you know, even on train up days like at Cool Acres, you know, I got out there and I own a rangefinder. I actually have a Bushnell rangefinder that I use to set up for my rimfire matches all the time. And I didn't bring it with me, and I got out there and I'm like, all right, I need to check my dope since I haven't shot this rifle in 11 months. And I'm like, all right, well, there's one target with a range next to it. That's it. But thankfully, for some reason, like, everybody was out there with their rangefinders. I'm like, yo, someone give me a distance to something, just anything.
Yeah,
that's 980. Cool, we'll take that one.
You know, and as a PRS competitor, there's other ways a rangefinder can really help you out. Say you show up and you see the bottom side of that target's just hammered and the top side's not. Maybe there's a range discrepancy. You can range it and check it. Or show up and you say that berm looks pretty dang far behind that target. I call it the berm data. I'm gonna range the berm and I'm gonna range the target. I'm gonna see what kind of data is different, because if I miss and I see it's 4/10 low and it's that much further and it should be 4/10, I'm not gonna worry about it. I know I just chased the wind, but I've seen people at a PRS match and they'll shoot like, you're really low. You're way back there. You're not, you just missed it off the side. And it's so much further, it's 50 yards further, that it looks 4/10. It is 4/10 low, but you know, you're thinking it's, you know, something else. Your data's wrong, but you know, you can kind of confirm those things during the pre-stage part. So you can use a rangefinder in a known distance range to get some benefits to, whether it's to confirm the yardage or just see where it's going to hit, you know, and that way you can stay cool, calm, and collected on the clock and keep rolling.
So that is like just an absolute amazing nugget of knowledge there that I've never thought about. You know, like, I see it, I'm like, well, they could have missed low, but I don't know how far back that berm is. You know, the target's 700 yards away. I can't tell if that's 4 feet or 37 yards behind them.
Yeah,
I've just never.
Yeah, so we do that a lot in ELR because it really starts mattering out there.
Oh, yeah.
But in PRS, I've done it several times. You know, guys will say like, man, that everyone's low, you know, on the misses. Well, only the people that are missing are low because it's out there. I go back to the PRS finale years ago. There was a 300-yard target, and it was kind of skyline. And if you miss, it was like 500 or 600 yards to the dirt. And I was the dummy that's thinking I'm crazy low, so I'm coming up. It was wind. It was shooting it looked like a Copenhagen can at 300 yards. So you got to be on. And then, you know, it was Brandon Hembry. He was like, I just heard like, if it was me, I'd send one at the T-post, you know, holding the frame up. I was like, you big dummy. Sent one, got my wind call, went bing, ding, ding, got the rest of them. But, you know, when you're on the clock, and you're probably not thinking correctly. Especially if you knew like I was. That was my very first PRS finale, and I was just excited to get there. So my judgment's clouded. But if I would have done a little research and had that, I would have known like, hey, don't freak out if you miss it off to the side. It's and you also if it's that much further, and you got say a left or right wind, you could go off the left, and your perception shows you missing to the right because it's so much further back there. So, it's something else you need to think about is like, hey, if I miss just off the right, perception wise, I probably went off the left, so you can use that to reverse calculate kind of what would happen. If I miss here, here's what I expect to see down there. So that's a lot to manage on the clock, but you would at least have that option and you're not locked out of it versus just, I hope it works. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And, I think it'd be good to even look and, even if nothing else, just take 30 seconds to be like, all right, here's my 5 targets or my 2 berms I'm shooting at or whatever, and be like, okay, yeah, that berm is just like 10 yards back. That berm's 5 yards back. That berm is 120 yards behind the target.
Yep.
I should pay attention on that one. And
there you go. I hope it works for you one day. I hope you never need it, but if you do, locked in the vault.
That is a knowledge bomb there. Real quick, Shane asked, CJ, what scope was it again that's getting all the new upgraded features in June?
Yeah, hey Shane, great question. So the XRS3 and the DMR3 are out currently. Those are the newest Elite Tactical scopes. The models that are out right now are available with the G4P. So that's the Christmas tree style reticle. The one that will be coming out in June is still going to be have the same features. It's just going to be the new reticle. So everything that you see with the current XRS3 and DMR3 will be in that same scope in June. It's just a new reticle option. We'll have that. We've got it listed on our website as well under new products if you want to check that out. We're anticipating inventory around June.
We haven't touched on that G4P, but I think y'all knocked it out of the park on that reticle. That's a very good reticle for a variety of situations. You can be super precise with it. It's got a nice floating dot in the middle, and it's 1/4 mil holes. We did talk about that, but man, that's a great reticle on giving you all the information you need, but it's not too busy to distract you or make it hard to look through. So I've really enjoyed that thing, and I don't see how it would hold you back in any way. You can turn it down low and use it since it has the 1/10 stadias. It kind of turns into a duplex. If you turn it all the way down, you can just make shots. But if you turn it up, you have all kinds of good precision. So I guess George had a big hand in that. And I think he knocked it out of the park on it, and that's perfect reticle for a lot of stuff. But
Juan, I think was it 2 years ago you and Troy were running that and at the AG Cup?
I believe
of it.
Yeah, it was kind of a prototype scope. Yeah, and I still run that on some guns, and it works fine, and I do really like that. Once you go to the dot, it's kind of hard to go back. At the Texas match, I shot just the normal G3, and it still works fine. I get along great with it because I'm used to it. But when I get to that G4P, you got all those little holes, but it's not too busy. It's not too distracting. And I'm personally a big fan of the 1/4 mil holes. It blows people's minds because you can't dial to a 1/4 mil. So you want a reticle that matches your turrets, but 1/4 mil doesn't match it. But I don't know anyone that can shoot to a 1/2 of a 1/10 of a mil. So, I'm totally fine. Jennifer might can, but I dang sure can't. It's good just to keep something simple, but still have all the holes you need. And I don't.
Ah, I asked him in the chat if he had his guitar nearby. It's getting almost time to wind down, and I was gonna have you sing us out again like you did before.
I can sing to you, but everyone will leave much sooner than you want them to.
What goals do you each have for the next year, the next 12 months?
What you got, CJ?
For me, I'm excited to get to shoot some more matches this year. So one, I'd like to shoot a few more matches this year than I did last year. And then my goal is always to do a little better in each and every match I shoot. So, every year I've shot gap grind, I've had a better score each and every year. So that's kind of my goal for that. And, ultimately every year I try and look to get new people involved too. That's always a goal is, whether I can provide them with a loaner rifle or, bring somebody to a match. That's fun to do and watch them because you get to watch somebody that, is used to shooting and maybe have not shot a match, and you kind of get that, you see their face light up when they clean a stage or, they hear that steel ringing. So it's fun doing that. That would be my goal is, for this year is shoot some more matches and get a few more people involved.
I need some goals. Honestly, I rarely set them because I've been averaging about 40 matches for a year for the last few years. And, I barely have time just to get something ready to go to the match, but I really need to start dialing back and making some goals I'd say my goal would be to maybe train more and actually put a diligent effort into training. But my goal is to make it to the match and have enough ammo, and don't forget my bolt and dial my dope.
The correct dope.
The correct dope. Yeah, you can dial whatever dope you want. It just helps if it's the correct one. So
I was about to say, you dialed, it just was off by, one number.
yeah, that's right.
It's the first one that matters the most.
Yeah, it's
happened to be the most unfortunate number for you to have been off by one.
Yeah, so I didn't realize there was an order of importance in there, but there dang sure is. So yeah, that's my goal this year is to listen to stage briefs and do a double check, and I have since done that. That match has made me incorporate a few double checks, redundancy, and Shannon Kay always talked about that, redundancy of 3 and stuff like that. It's hard to screw it up 3 times in a row. So I have 2 Kestrels. I rarely use it, but if I'm wondering about data and I might have input something wrong, I got 2 of those. Also most of us shoot pretty similar cartridges in the game. So, if you're shooting a 6 mil and I'm shooting a 6 mil, I'm like, hey, Jennifer, I got 2.5 on my armband. What's yours? If you got 2.6, 2.7, it'll be a little bit of error, and that's fine. But if you're like, hey, I got 3.9, I'm like, oh, hold up, give me 5 minutes.
Yeah,
check my data again.
I like to do that, and it's not. When I first started, it was like, hey, what are you going to hold for wind out there? Because I had no clue. But like at Cool Acres, I found out that Heidi's rifle was pretty much the same ballistically as mine. And there was one time that I heard her say a number, and I was like, "You said what?" Oh, okay. You were talking about the next stage. Never mind. But just kind of like keeping an ear out where she's writing her dope down, and I'm like, okay, cool. My numbers are the same as hers. We're good. Somewhat close.
I usually the night before the match, I go through the book and I write my dope for what it is. And I've seen people before come up and go, I can't believe you're doing your dope right now. It's going to be different tomorrow. And I'm like,
yeah,
it will be a little bit different, but it will be ballpark range. And part of the reason I do it is if something happens and my Kestrel and my cell phone both fall off a cliff, then I have something to start with. But more important than that, like when I get to the stage, I do my environmentals and I check my Kestrel. And then I look at what I wrote the night before when I was not rushed and not talking to other people and not, distracted. And I go, yep, close. I mean, it might be off by a 10th. If I'm shooting in the afternoon when I get the dope, my Kestrel is for the afternoon. It's first thing in the morning. It might be off by a little bit more, but depending on how different the DA is. But I can tell if something's wrong. Like if I accidentally wrote, 3.8 instead of 2.8, like that's going to be obvious. So it's just a second check for me to check myself because I do stupid things like write the wrong number.
Yep.
I thought about integrating a rangefinder with ballistics into it as well, because you just tag your targets and boom, it comes up with your dope. Okay, this is matching what I thought. It's just another redundancy. And then not only that, I can't tell you, it's been a few times at a match I thought they were talking about this target, and I'm looking at another one, you know, where a rangefinder might tell me like, whoa, they said it's 550 and this is 650. It must be, oh, this one ranges 550. That's my right target, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, just double checking different things is huge. So I stopped doing that, writing it down the night before because of that, but it's still a solid way. And now the Kestrels let you put in like all the stages for a match the night before. So now you can put it in your hotel room unrushed, and the next day it updates as environmentals and you're good to go. So I haven't done that yet, but that's a pretty cool feature.
Yep. I still
My luck
like
is
Jen-
my luck is I'll drop my Kestrel under the bed and forget it, not take it to the range, and then I won't have anything. So that's why I always write it in my book.
And how many times have you been to a match like, oh, these 2 yardages in the match are incorrect, but you put it in the night before and you forgot to change it. So, you know.
I
yeah.
always recheck it at the stage though.
Yeah, her method has saved me before, where, you know, again, I wrote it the night before and I went and, you know, all right, let me put this back in again. Here, you know, I got a 2.8, 3.7, 4.1, look back at that, 2.8, 3.0, 4.1. I'm like, something. Oh, look, you know, I just typed the wrong number here. Let's change that real quick. And, you know, it's a good sanity check. I don't use it as dope for shooting, but I use it as when I was not, you know, maybe the first shooter up and rushing, or maybe just had a really bad stage and just kind of want to go like beat my head into a tree. You know, when I'm nice and calm right after dinner, relaxed, do it then.
Are you ever calm and relaxed at a match? I'm not.
After dinner, I am.
Yeah.
After dinner.
Man, we ate some good food at Cool Acres. We went into Lions, into the steakhouse, and ooh, it was good. It was real good.
Oh, after the match? Yeah.
Saturday night.
Yeah. There's some good places around. I love matches in the South. They always have great food.
It's like one of my favorite things about shooting. Like sometimes people are like, oh, we should pack sandwiches for this match and, you know, save money. I'm like for lunch, yes, but for dinner, I want to eat something delicious.
That's why I kind of hate missing the Altus match, because they have an awesome meal each time. I mean, it will spoil you. And them guys always knock it out of the park. And I hated those matches were on the same weekend, you know, because, yeah, I shoot to eat.
Yeah, I always.
And it helps you manage recoil better, too, if you can gain a little girth.
There we go. That's why I put on so much weight this year, to make me a better shooter.
The strategy.
I like the way you think.
Yeah. That's it.
Greg, we got any more lives?
Courtney Brantley said, that's a good looking guy right there.
You better stop looking at CJ.
I tell you what. That's funny. Any other lives?
Wendell said, go over that one more time, Robert, on the Kestrel dope card.
Oh, I have not done it yet for a match. I've played around doing a little bit of beta testing on that, but so used to, you could put in, I think you had A, B, C, D, and E, like 5 targets you could do. Now they have it's not a range card. It's called, is it data card? I forgot what it's called in there, but you can, sectors. You can put in, say, 10 sectors, and each sector can hold 10 targets. So you theoretically could go in with your match book the night before, put in, you know, sector 1 is stage 1, sector 2 is stage 2, put in all those yardages, and then when you roll from stage 1 to stage 2, you scroll to your next sector. The Kestrel's automatically bringing in all of the environmental data. It corrects it to the yardage on there. You just write down that data on your armband and you're ready to roll. So if you're the kind of person that hangs out at the hotel and you got the match book and they gave it to you, then that'd be a great time to put it all in. And just not only that, it keeps you kind of more prepared on the stage, one less thing to have to do and rush, and you can just spend your time double checking rather than getting it ready. Because I don't know about you, I hate being first at a stage and it's like, here's a 5 target array from this, you know, and you got a lot to manage now, and you're rushing to get all your gear, load your mag, get your data, all that. So it kind of lets you do that ahead of time, and you're set. So it's one less thing to mess up. And so huge shout out to Kestrel for bringing us that. That's awesome.
They're constantly improving, and
I started messing with that on Saturday, and I was like, I should play with this at home first.
I think it's only available on the applied ballistics model, to my knowledge. I don't think it's on the Hornady 4DOF. And I use both of those models a lot. Both of them treated me very well. It's just like you always hear, garbage in, garbage out. You put bad data in, you'll get bad data on the backside. But you know, it kind of, like I said, it lets you prepare ahead when you're not stressed out, so that you can put good data in, and you won't live my life of the Texas Precision Match.
that's right.
Smooth running. But
We good on lives?
We are good on lives.
I think we can wind it down to shout outs then. It's getting late. So Greg, we usually start with you. What shout outs you got?
We'll start off with GSL suppressors. Makes my little 22 super quiet. I love it. Shooters and sharpshooters of Augusta, our local indoor and outdoor ranges. PDC Custom, most beautiful rifle chassis known to man. Shooters roll powder. That's what I've been shooting for a majority of my PRS time, and it shoots absolutely great, and it's always available locally to me at Shooters of Augusta. Hunter's HD Gold. I'm blind, and that makes me actually able to see some stuff. Fix It Sticks, because I might not break as much stuff as Robert, but I do break a lot of stuff, and that's really good to fix it with. And Vortec, as I learned on my 22 match on Saturday, you are supposed to clean these things from there all the way back. If you clean your barrel and not your action, they got a really cool action cleaning kit. And you try and push your bolt forward, and it's just, you know, you're going to lose a lot of time on a stage. So make sure you keep your stuff nice and clean.
it's awesome.
All right. CJ, what shout outs you got?
Yeah. Shout outs. Well, first we got exciting. We got got a new rifle from Voodoo. That'll be a Bushnell rifle. We'll have at some rimfire stages. So shout out to Greg over there for getting that all painted up for us and everything. It's gonna look awesome. You know, shout out to our team. You know, Brian Sykes, Missy, George, Troy, all those guys, Nick Bazone out there in Virginia. And then yeah, gotta give a shout out to my family as well. But
All right. How about you, Robert?
I'm gonna have to throw my wife out there, Courtney, for holding down the fort while I'm gone and living the dream. So definitely her. And I love representing multiple other companies. Got Shoot for Team GA Precision, Manor Stocks for sure, Hornady, Hogden, RCBS, Champion, Bartline Barrels, Trigger Tech, Atlas Bipods. All these people have treated me extremely well and love them. So shout out to anybody supporting the game is who I'll say. We need it.
That's right. And I just want to shout out the two of you for coming on a Tuesday night and spending a little over 2 hours with us, and kind of helping get the word out about our sport and answering some questions. And CJ, shout out to Bushnell for all the sponsoring of matches that y'all do and supporting the sport. And Robert, to you, shout out just for being a good ambassador of the sport and just always being fun.
Well, I appreciate it. I love watching y'all stuff, and thank y'all for bringing so many people on, and learn. You know, everyone gets to learn from all that. So, you know, when people create content and let others learn from their stuff, it's I think we need more of that. So y'all been doing this for quite a while. I've been seeing y'all lots of matches, and I've learned a lot from content y'all put out, and kudos to y'all for keeping it up and doing it. Y'all do an awesome job.
yeah,
Well, thank you.
I totally agree. So, I mean, you guys are almost at every event I go to. I see you guys there, and the coverage that you provide is great for people that can't be there, and the insights and the tips is I think it's invaluable. So you guys are getting a lot of coverage on these events and helping grow the sport.
It's fun. I enjoy doing it. It's funny. I started doing this show in like 2015, I think. And that was back when I was doing pistol and 3-gun. And I would just sit here on the show and just like learn and just, listen to what people would say. But it gave me a great avenue. I could ask anything I wanted of some of the smartest people in the sport, and so it was it's always fun to do it. And it's always a good time. And I always learn something on every show. So it's a good time to do it. So we have fun.
What'd you learn on this one?
The berm thing.
Okay.
And the first number is the important one.
I already knew that one.
We could put that on
the
a
range and the berm, I had not thought of that one. So that was because I have had that before where it's, I'll never forget at AG Cup 2 years ago, maybe. There was a 1,000-yard target and the berm was like another 100 yards and people were having a really hard time.
Yeah.
So
Hello.
I know that was very good advice.
Mhm.
So, all right. Well, with that, that'll be a wrap for episode 370, and we will see everybody next week.
Awesome. Thank y'all.
See ya. Thanks.